Snowdon, standing over a kilometre above sea level. The highest mountain in the UK, excluding Scottish mountains. At the summit on a clear day, Ireland, the Isle of Man and even Scotland are visible. In 2009, there were more deaths on Snowdon than Everest. Each year, 350,000 people visit Snowdon to climb, making it Britain's busiest mountain. But why? Before I start my adventure, I'm heading off to the Reach climbing wall in Woolwich to speak to a climbing instructor who has experience on Snowdon.
I've been to Snowdon a number of times, and each time that I've been, there's been a certain level of enjoyment that can be got. It can be uncomfortable, it can be, in terms of conditions, it can be very harsh, but it can be very rewarding having managed to get through some challenge like that, yes. There have been many memorable moments, some for good, some for bad. I'd say some of the scariest is when you can't see more than 5 metres in front of you. And when you're looking at navigation through an area where there are 50 to 100 foot falls on either side, you've got to make sure your navigation is pretty hot. Nowadays it's easier because you've got all of the technology, Garmin's and other 10-figure grid positioning systems. Back in the day it would be a prismatic compass and a map. I can understand that Snowdon is Britain's busiest mountain. It's got a lot of traffic that go up by the train, so people who wouldn't be able to access that kind of harsh terrain, they can still get to the top, so that traffic is added in. But it's also got a very wide diversity of proper climbs for technical grade climbers, also the pig track and the miners track for people who are more going for a mountain leader. So it's got a broad spectrum for all those people interested in the outdoor world.
The information that Matthew gave me was useful. However, I can only understand why Snowdon is Britain's busiest mountain if I go and experience it myself. Being a climber, the first thing I do when I go to Wales is not to check into my hotel, it's climb. As I was climbing, I met up with some university students to interview about their experiences on Snowdon.
Busy.
Yeah, it's pretty busy in the summer.
Busy, yeah.
Yeah, super busy.
Quite beautiful though. Yeah, it's very nice to look at.
But like, you've got Clip Goch and it's like, because it's quite a ridge, there's like queues of people waiting to go over it. And it's a bit of a nightmare.
Someone sort of in situ, straddling the ridge, having a little cry. Which is quite amusing. We went to do a winter route on the side of Goch. And the route we wanted to do wasn't in condition, but we went up a gully to the side, and my mate was climbing this gully and got a bit gripped and then fell off and managed to like invert, so it was like upside down.
Yeah, gnarly.
He was talking about it for weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Flipped upside down. I think it's
Easy access, isn't it?
Yeah, the
accessible.
access.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a train that goes to the top.
And people go up there wearing like tracksuits and stuff like this in the winter, or when it's raining and it's just going to get caught out.
Before my expedition, I got the chance to speak to a mountain guide called Anne.
I hold the mountaineering instructor certificate, so I am a mountaineering instructor, yes. Figures suggest that about 500,000 people climb Snowdon every year, which makes it the most popular mountain in Britain and one of the most popular mountains in the world. I take small parties, 1s and 2s, occasionally up to about 8 people, and I do it perhaps once a week through the summer. I think some people regard it as a challenge to tick off because it is the highest mountain in Wales and higher than any mountain in England. Snowdon's very accessible by the road network, and people know that there's a good network of paths on the mountain as well.
I started the expedition going up the first leg of the pig track. On the way up the first stretch for 30 minutes, I enjoyed the sight of waterfalls, valleys, and a beautiful view of Goch, which is where I am going. I am now at the base of Goch, preparing for a tough climb. This is one of the hardest routes, if not the hardest, up Snowdon because climbing experience is required to get to the summit. Unlike other routes like the Pig Trail, which only require the ability to walk, not only is it a tough climb, it is very physically demanding and there is a high risk of injury. I have now got to the top of Goch. To my left is an amazing view of the valley and to the right is a sheer vertical drop. There are two main species of bird around Snowdon, the seagull and the raven. The sheer drop continues on the right hand side for most of the way, so placing your foot is something serious to take into consideration when walking along this stretch of path. As the route continues, there is more climbing involved, as there are rock pillars on the way which act as obstacles. The last pillar, in my opinion, is the most dangerous, as on the right side is a vertical drop. Any wrong move and you are dead. Even when you get to the top, there is another challenge of getting down the other side, bearing in mind that climbing down is harder than climbing up. After this part, the expedition gets easier as most of it is a walkway to the summit. However, there are a couple of scrambles later on. On this scramble, there are air bubbles inside the rocks which suggest that Snowdon was formed by a volcano. I am now about 30 minutes away from the summit. This is an area which is a fairly flat part east of the summit, which is a popular place for people to take a final break before going to the summit. From this point, there is a really good view of Mt Snowdon's summit. As I approached the summit, there were a surprising amount of people. I deliberately came to Snowdon in the early spring because the summer was very crowded, but even in early spring, it is surprisingly busy. As I was coming to the summit, there was a queue to get to the summit. I was experiencing for myself how busy Snowdon actually was. At the top there is an amazing view which I got to enjoy. There is a cafe on top which is sadly closed until the summer. The cafe used to be a small stone building until the Prince of Wales named it Britain's highest slum. He then funded a £8 million refurbishment to create this current cafe today. On the way down I decided to take the miners' track. Going down this route I got the chance to see the search and rescue team doing their job. On this route I got the chance to enter a cave. I didn't go too far in, but by the looks of things, it was very far. I also got the chance to find some copper ore. About 200 years ago there was a mining community on Snowdon, and these are the remains of the miners' barracks. Although the path is fairly flat, the road is very unstable, making it quite enduring to hike. Halfway along the miners' track there is a building where the miners took the ore and put them in machines on display outside, which broke the ore down into metal. All the way along the miners' track there is a big lake which is over 100 metres deep. An area of the mountain is fenced off, which is a 40-year-old experiment of what vegetation grows around the mountain without sheep eating it. Snowdon is also native to sheep and goats. On day 2 I went to the town with the longest name in the world.
Just up the road from Llanfair to Pwllgwyngyll go get a Quindrobwll, Llantysilio go Goch. The temperature got to 21 Celsius.
Although it was interesting to see, I was disappointed as there is only the station and the gift shop next to it. Apart from that, there wasn't really much to see, meaning that I didn't spend long here. I then went on to Llanberis, where there is a train service that runs up to the summit of Snowdon. I then made my way to Castell Dol Badarn, which I enjoyed a view of a slate quarry. The local slate is used for tiles and even gravestones. And not only is it just used for the locals, if you see any slate tiles anywhere in Europe, it would most likely come from this slate quarry. On the third and final day, I got an amazing opportunity to work with the Snowdon Society and help them pick up litter. I got the chance to speak to a member of the Snowdon Society named Owain.
Snowdon gets somewhere in the range of 500 to 600,000 visitors a year. So due to the number of visitors that Snowdon gets, there are certain areas on the mountain which get particularly badly littered. Around the lake where we are litter picking today, as well as on the summit, as well as other sort of popular picnic spots which get hit quite bad. So the Snowdonia Society is a conservation charity based in the Snowdonia National Park, and we help protect, preserve and celebrate the Snowdonia National Park. So we have 2 sections to the society. We have a members section, so we're a membership-based charity, as well as our volunteer section. And our volunteers do all sorts of conservation projects throughout the year. We do footpath maintenance, litter picks like we're doing today. We do controlling invasive species, and we do other conservation tasks such as learning local agriculture skills like flagstone walling.
I think it's amazing that Owain and many other people give their time as volunteers to help keep the mountain clean for everybody to enjoy. Although Snowdon is fairly clean, it is surprising to see how much litter there actually is. I had another opportunity to speak to one of the wardens on Mt Snowdon called Reese.
Warden sort of look after the national park. We're sort of the eyes and ears of the national park, and act as like a link between the different stakeholders in the park, so between landowners, local sort of people, and visitors to the national park. Day to day we do a lot of work with footpath stuff, and do a lot of work with volunteers and that sort of stuff. It's not busy all the time. It tends to be in quite peak periods, certainly during the summer holidays and Easter holidays and so on. But yeah, certainly aware of the busyness of the area, yes. It does, to the point where you try and focus a lot of your work on Snowdon. For instance, you do a lot of litter picking on Snowdon. The paths on Snowdon tend to need a lot more sort of attention with erosion and so forth. So certainly it does have an impact on the work, yeah.
When we were finished picking up litter, it is amazing to see how many bin bags there are. Considering that one bin bag lasts a household about a week, it is quite surprising to see how many bags were filled up. Before I left, I got the chance to speak to a member of Snowdon's search and rescue team.
So I'm a volunteer member of Llanberis Mountain Rescue Team. All the members of the team are volunteers, so all the service provided by the team is on a voluntary basis. I get involved in a lot of activity on the mountain personally for my own sort of recreation and health, but also I also work as a mountain leader, so I do take a lot of people onto Snowdon as part of organised groups. And then with my experience of volunteering for Llanberis Mountain Rescue Team, you definitely get the feeling that it is a busy mountain, and it's visited by a lot of people and a diverse set of people, ranging from experienced mountaineers and climbers to first-time walkers. The volunteer role that I support the rescue team with, I suppose the rescue team as a team do come under quite a lot of pressure due to the fact that there are so many people visiting the mountain. The probability works out that there are a number of call-outs that the Llanberis Mountain Rescue Team do respond to. Having said that, with regards to the 582,000 people that access the mountain based on 2016 visitor figures, the amount of people that do actually call the team for assistance is actually quite small. But even so, that small percentage is still quite a great number for a volunteer team to respond to.
My 3 days in Snowdon were probably one of the best experiences I have had in my life. Due to a variety of routes up the mountain, the amazing views and sights around the mountain, I'm not surprised it's Britain's busiest mountain. Sadly, I now have to leave, taking a lot of things from this experience back with me to London.